Hello, this is Angelique, and you're listening to We're Booked Up, a segment of the Gaston Speaks podcast wherein Kendall, Andrew, and I discuss books. This month's book is Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. There will be spoilers for the book, and probably the show as well, so be aware of that and come back later if you don't want to hear them. But first, what have we been reading or watching?
I read this, sort of, and I got through most of it. It's been so for those of you who, hopefully you all who listen came to our annual Friends of the Library book sale, which for us was last week. By the time this is done, it'll be now a couple of weeks. But it was wonderful. Record-breaking year. We had the most amazing group of volunteers in the world, but I was here most of the time. So I got very little watched and read. Ooh, I did start. There's a new series on CNN Discovery Plus called, you know how they did that Stanley Tucci Searching for Italy?
Mm-hmm.
They now have an Eva Longoria Searching for Mexico. So she travels around Mexico for the food. It is fantastic. It's just, if you loved, I loved the Stanley Tucci series. If you loved that, you will love this. But it's because Eva Longoria, her family is from South Texas, but they can trace it back to when it was a part of Mexico. Mm-hmm. So they were Mexicano, then Tejano, and then Americano. So so it's really cool to watch her go and visit like some of her roots and all these really cool places to eat in Mexico, like, you know, it's a big travel area. So I started watching that, and then I read Good Omens, sort of.
Good job. I mean, you know, you talked about the Stanley Tucci
Searching for Italy. That's what it's called.
Yes,
yeah.
I learned the tomatoes that everyone loves.
San Marzano?
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently they're grown in like 2 square feet,
Oh,
and
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
them are fake.
Yes, yeah, a lot of your
It's
San
like
yeah.
an industry.
They plop it on there because there's no actual like brand.
I really want to be in the board meeting of the fake San Marzano tomato company. I just think
If we plop it on there, people are going to think it's great, and it's really just like Hunt's with a different label, you know? like it's just regular canned tomatoes, which is perfectly fine. There's no.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So that I did start watching that because I needed a distraction, and I love anything food, and I love Eva Longoria, and she has a new movie coming out. She's directing actually about the guy who helped develop the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. He was a Latinx gentleman. I can't remember. Anyway, it's called Flamin' Hot, and premiering at South by Southwest. And anyway, so I'm excited, and so I was like, I'm gonna watch this.
That sounds quirky.
I think it's more like a biopic. Like it's less like funny.
It's
than
less
it sounds.
pain and gain, more.
Right. I don't know. We'll find out. I haven't seen it yet. We'll find out. So, what about you?
Yeah, what did you read?
I read this book. I'm reading a book called Potential Energy by Kim Fielding. It's a sci-fi book. It's slow going for some reason, even though it's a pretty short
It has a
book.
lot of potential, though. There's the potential of energy later on. Okay.
Yeah. And then I started...
Thanks, Dad.
I started the 3rd season of The Mandalorian.
Hey!
Yeah.
I'm watching that, too.
I don't understand. I don't know what's going on anymore, but
You have to go
I'm
back
having
and watch
fun.
the recaps.
Yeah. I honestly think I need to go back and watch the 1st season.
Yeah, actually, considering what's going on this season, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So
My problem, I mean, I love Star Wars. I grew up with it. I have like a Star Wars Death Star in my house, a Lego Death Star in my house. But I'm like, there's so many of them now.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with them.
yeah, I'm not gonna watch like Boba Fett or
No, and you have to
Andor.
watch some of them now because they all start to like Boba Fett
They
connects.
all
Because basically it was like 2.5 season of
My brother
Mandalorian.
watches all of them, and I just ask him before I started this. He's like, "What happened in Boba Fett? What do I need to know?" And he just told me. I'm like, "All right, okay, I'll watch it now."
Oh, I watch all of them, but don't ask me. I can't remember anything.
I am excited about Ahsoka because I loved her in the Clone Wars, that character, and I love Rosario Dawson. She's just one of my favorite actresses. So I feel like I'm going to enjoy that one, but I probably have to watch all the rest of them to understand what's going on.
I feel like I needed to have watched, I think it's the Clone Wars to really appreciate what's going on in The Mandalorian this season.
That's one that, you know, they had it on Cartoon Network. It was completely separate from the Disney machine. And then they stopped it, and then they finished it, like, on Disney Plus. They had, like, episodes. They finally finished it. But it was really – and I'm not normally, like, an anime – I mean, I love, like, you know, like Family Guy and Bob's Burgers and some of the stupid ones. But, like, it was very, very good. And there's a lot of stuff in the Clone Wars that I'm like, okay, if you're going to do all this live-action stuff, there's some really neat – like storylines in there that would actually, I just like covered my mouth. There's some really neat storylines in there. There we go, we fixed it. This is not as bad as the Oscar podcast where it was like 6 o'clock in the morning and I was like, I thought I'm going to win because we were just exhausted and she had to edit out like half of it. So anyway.
But it was very quick. It was like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm getting good at it.
It's been really popular, by the way.
Really?
Got
Congratulations.
over 150 listens for that last
It's crazy.
Ooh.
It actually did pretty well, like
Oh
with the
my
predictions. Like, even the ones where I'm like, I really want this person to win, but this person's probably going to win. Like, the other person won. It wasn't, there was only a few that were like, I totally missed it.
I didn't follow your other person, this person. What?
Did
you, so the person you wanted to win won, or the person
I
you
thought
predicted?
Austin Butler was going to win, but I was like, I really hope Brendan Fraser wins. He really could, but I think it's going to be Austin Butler. But then Brendan, so it's like, most of the time, even if my prediction wasn't right, it was the other one that I was predicting. So that made me happy that I was like, I knew I was in the ballpark.
That is how I'm going to predict everything. It doubles your chances.
Exactly. So you can say, see, I told you it could happen, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, and reading. So I'm just watching The Mandalorian and watching TikTok and reading. I know. Actually, I haven't been watching TikTok. Have you noticed I haven't been sending you any?
I got like 5 messages today, so.
That's because I finished the book. And I could do other things in my life.
Catching up. Gotta catch up.
Seriously.
That's funny.
Anyway, but I finally got Crying in H Mart, so I can finish that because I'm a quarter way through.
The one that you
I've been waiting months for that to come back. And then I also got another audiobook that I'm interested in. It's nonfiction. We don't talk about nonfiction a lot on here, but it's called Cultish. It's by Amanda Montag, and it's about how language affects culty behavior and how, like, I don't know, language can be used. I don't know how to explain it. To influence, yeah, like the idea that
to create like an us versus them kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, to do whatever it is, there's a lot of influence, I think, and there's the idea that sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Well, words actually can do a lot of damage, and it is it
likes to stick, like just likes to scratch, like you'll be fine. Anyway,
tis but a scratch.
Tis but a scratch.
Okay.
All right.
That is the one and only reference to anything Monty Python you'll get out of me.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I got
it's
that
about
one.
A flesh wound. Is that what it was? That's what it was.
Yeah, I've seen it, like a lot of the Monty Python stuff, but I'm not like well versed in it. Although it kind of reminded me of this, so this felt very Monty Python-ish.
Yeah, like a more modern. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to talk about the book?
Yeah. Sorry.
For what?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like when we go on too long, I'm gonna get admonished.
No.
Like with a look. Not actually in words. You would never. Well, I mean,
she'll
you
just
would.
Come back. She's like, it took me all day to edit because y'all would shut up.
That's what it is. You're breathing so much.
Yeah,
sorry, I'll stop breathing.
That's mostly at Andrew.
Oh.
Yeah, no apologies needed. All right, so we'll start with the synopsis of the book as usual, and we have different books. This is actually Andrew's book.
So I had that book, and then I set it down somewhere in the library, and I couldn't find it. And so I finally was like, I have to read this book. So I bought a copy on Amazon. Well, someone had found it, checked it in, it had a hole.
That's funny.
I spent I tore up my office and I tore up my house trying to find that book, and it was already in someone else's house. So.
Can I tell you, because there's so many different versions of the book, it kind of frustrates me because I like to mark on Goodreads how far I am in the book. Mm-hmm. And so cool thing, I found this book on Hoopla a little late, but I was listening to the audiobook version, and I was reading it on my phone on Hoopla, and I was reading it in real time. But then I have the white copy with Crowley on the front, and on my Goodreads, it's the black copy with Aziraphale. And so the pages don't line up. And so I'd be like, I'm on 283. Ha, I'm feeling good. And it'd be like 14%.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so much.
All right, so we'll start with the synopsis. And it is different. I glanced at the back of yours, and I think it starts differently at least.
Is it different, or is it like that time where there was no difference?
No, it starts differently.
Okay, yeah.
I'll read it, and I won't laugh this time. You go first.
All right. According to the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, witch, the world's only completely accurate book of prophecies written in 1655 before she exploded, the world will end on a Saturday. Next Saturday, in fact, just before dinner. So the armies of good and evil are amassing. Atlantis is rising, frogs are falling, tempers are flaring. Everything appears to be going according to divine plan, except a somewhat fussy angel and a fast-living demon, both of whom have lived amongst Earth's mortals since the beginning and have grown rather fond of the lifestyle, are not actually looking forward to the coming rapture, and someone seems to have misplaced the Antichrist.
Whoops-a-doodle. All right. What is full bore? It says full bore. What is full bore? FULL-BORE. Full bore.
I don't know.
I'm messing up the first word. I shouldn't do this anymore.
Well,
I should
that's a
give it to
review.
Andrew. I know, but it was fun. Full bore contemporary lunacy, which is, I think
it's kind of like Full Throttle kind of thing.
maybe it's a British thing.
What's the San Diego Tribune?
It is San Diego Union Tribune. What? I'm too illiterate for this job. Okay. The world will end on Saturday. Next Saturday. Just before dinner, according to the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, witch. The world's only completely accurate book of prophecies written in 1655. The armies of good and evil are amassing, and everything appears to be going according to divine plan, except that a somewhat fussy angel and a fast-living demon are not actually looking forward to the coming rapture. And someone seems to have misplaced the Antichrist. Put the New York Times best-selling authors Neil Gaiman or Gaiman? Gaiman and Terry Pratchett together, and all hell breaks loose.
So it's slightly different. They just kind of reorganize the sentences a little bit.
It's like Andrew wrote yours, and then you wrote mine.
Hey.
Because it's longer.
No, I know.
And hers is more brief. They're both
this is
accurate.
This is how we got through grad school. I'd write a 40-page thing, and Angelique would edit it down to what it actually needed to be. So
I feel like this one is nice, and that one is accurate.
Yeah.
Because this one is exact.
So I'm not nice. Rude.
But you're accurate.
Okay, well, I'd rather be nice.
Anyway.
All right.
That's a good summary, I mean, basically, because there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you summarize it? That's a nice way of summarizing it without diving too much into what happens. So
yeah, without giving too much away.
Well, yeah, that's still so much.
There is a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. Ratings.
Who
Right?
wants to go first? Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Angelique, go first. You never go first.
I give it like 4.5 stars because I just like it so much.
Andrew.
3.
Yeah, I gave it, okay, so when I was reading it, I was kind of grumpy at parts, so 4.25. But in hindsight, I would probably do 4.5. I like this book a lot.
I liked a lot of parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling her, we'll get into this, but I feel like I need to watch the series because I feel like I'll like it in that form a lot better than I liked it in book form. Part of it was because there was so much going on these last couple of weeks getting ready for the book sale. And even though we've had this for like 2 months, and you know how that is. But there were parts of it where I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And I think it was just me, but I think I'm going to try the series. I feel like, because I like the 2 actors, the 2 leads, particularly Michael Sheen is one of my favorites. I was telling her that, telling some of the stuff I liked him in. So I didn't dislike it at all. It just was a really tough read for me. It took way too long.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it could have been me, or it could have been this is just not like my style of book. But it's very clever. That's not a slight against the quality of the writing. I will say I tried Discworld, the first Discworld, because someone said, "Oh, you'll love Terry Pratchett," and I had the same thing where I'm like, I don't dislike it, but it's not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for me, the reasons that I loved the book are kind of the reasons why I got frustrated and annoyed with the book. And so I'm going, the Kindle thing I do where I start one sentence one way and I end the sentence another way. And then like I'll say one thing and then you say the opposite thing and then I agree with you. This is going to happen a lot on this episode because like I loved the details because the little teeny weeny details and descriptions set up funny jokes later and the little bits. And I loved that. And I love different stories, watching them come together. But at the same time, not knowing which little story is important, or I'm like, okay, skip to the part that I can care about. I don't need to know about Lisa Morrow and her telemarketing thing, and like her goals and their like checklists and tallies. Like it's like those details are funny, but then I'm also like, but I need to finish.
Yeah, it's a very long book, and I think that sometimes it's like, okay, that was 100 pages ago, and I didn't know the significance of it, so I was like, okay, that was a nice little, that happened. And now I'm like, okay, now what? And I had to like go back and like try to find it to okay, now that sort of makes sense. That part of it's because it took me so long to read it. So anyway,
I don't know.
Do you think if you'd read it on your own, you would have been as frustrated? Like if you'd been able to take your own time with it?
I think I would have liked it more because I would have been not rushing to get through it. Plus, I've seen it. I saw the Prime series first, and I loved it. I thought it was great. And all those little tidbits and stuff like that play out, I think, pretty funny in the actual show. But then, like, I don't know, I was going back and I was like, I don't care about war. and for her perspective and stuff like that. I'm like, I just want to move on.
Sometimes it's hard to watch watch the movie or the series and then go back and read the book because it takes you a lot less time.
See, normally I do the book of the TV version first because then I like it more. Because if I had read this book and then I saw it on TV, I don't know how I would have felt about it. I might be looking for that little tiny detail that
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, I think it's because I had a little bit of a time. Even though we had the book for like 2 months and I delayed this already, I still read it in like 2 or 3 days. Because I don't know how you sit down and read a book in 24 hours. I can't retain anything if I do that.
It's just the only way I can get through a book nowadays. So my life's kind of one of those. It's like Sundays are reading days because it's the only day I can guarantee that I don't have to come to work.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
so it's not my ideal, but it's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like the book. I liked all the little funny little details. Okay, so like another example would be like, I really got bored after Aziraphale had like discorpulated, like kind of like become like, I don't know how to disembodied.
Discorporealized?
Yeah. There we go. Discorpulated. I made up a word. Anyway,
that was full bore.
and he would like peek through like the full bore. Oh, that's funny.
Got my dad jokes are on point today, and I was like,
I missed it.
Kidding.
What was I saying?
I'm sorry.
You got bored after Aziraphale.
Oh, okay. So like he disappeared or whatever, and then he was like popping through the different people and talking like the religious guy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I was like, I really just was so frustrated by that. I was like, keep going. But then it set up a really lovely joke for them to be the Madame Tracy seance, and then Aziraphale comes through that way. And it was so funny. And then having Aziraphale on the little scooter inside Madame Tracy with Shadwell on the back, and then he's like, they're just, I don't know, they're just lovely, bickering, funny moments.
Yeah.
So it was love-hate.
Yeah.
Which works well with the book of Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Together.
There you go.
I don't know.
It's a theme.
It's metaphorical.
Okay, are we ready for the first question?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We should probably
Okay.
answer the questions. We're so bad about that.
Okay, have you read other works? Have you read other works by Neil Gaiman or Terry Pratchett? Which ones can you identify their unique voices in this text?
So, like I said, I tried the first Discworld novel. I got about 100 pages in. So I could kind of tell when I got to the point where there were parts where I didn't understand as well, I felt like those were the Terry Pratchett parts. But I've never read anything by Neil Gaiman, so.
No, I don't think I've read anything by Neil Gaiman, but I watched Coraline.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that one of his books?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I did like Coraline. That's a good show. That's a good movie.
One of his children's books.
Yeah. I mean, it tracks for me, really.
Sometimes a children's book is how you get through your Goodreads. So
Yeah.
it's like, you got to pop some
Well,
of
he's
those in.
a little bit like James Patterson in that he writes for all different
He
age
does,
groups.
yeah.
He just doesn't churn out the books like
Yeah.
James. Thank you,
Has he even
Neil.
done anything in a while?
Neil?
I think he did Norse mythology.
Yeah, but that's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a hot minute.
I feel like he did something else.
So,
I think he's been working on Good Omens, honestly, because he does a lot of scripts now.
Oh, gotcha. He's kind of like George R. R. Martin and some of those others that.
Yeah.
Well, George R. R. Martin just doesn't want to finish the book now because everyone hated how it ended. But I'm convinced of that. But yeah, so that does take a lot of work.
Yeah.
To do that. So.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
but no, I haven't. Have you?
I read Neverwhere and Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman and The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett in high school. So it's been a while.
Oh, American Gods.
I read American Gods by Neil Gaiman a few years ago.
I did watch the first season of the Star series. It was actually very good.
Yeah, it was.
And then the showrunners left, and I watched this first 2 episodes of the second season. It was just, you could tell because it was the guys who did Pushing Daisies,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
the
I
2
loved
showrunners,
that.
and so you had a lot of that humor, and you had really good guest stars like Kristen Chenoweth and Gillian Anderson, and then the second season was like the humor went with it
Because they left, right?
because they left, yeah. So it's kind of like it was just like the bottom dropped out, and then I just didn't care. But I love Ian McShane, so I was excited. It was a good. I never read the book, but the first season was really excellent.
So like in comparison to like the collaboration between say Patterson and Barker, do you think
Ooh.
Gaiman and Pratchett did better?
Oh, that's just not fair.
I know. So because I'm not as familiar with them, I could not tell who was writing what in this particular book. Like, it flowed, it worked well. I think it was fine. Whereas Patterson and Barker, you could almost tell which chapters and which input and collaboration, the style.
Yeah.
And they didn't mesh.
Like
in those books, they never meshed. Oh, what was how did you call it? Round robin?
Yeah, round robin.
Where it was like
One
they
would
write
write a chapter and the
because
other
they
would write a
they never
chapter.
knew how the ending was going to be, so they just kept building on each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like choose your own adventure
Mhm.
along the way kind of thing. This one, you're right. I mean, like I said, I've never read Neil Gaiman. I did read some Terry Pratchett a little bit, but I'm sure the people who are really big fans, because they have huge fandoms, these two,
Yeah.
can tell the difference. But everything like that was never the issue. It definitely flowed.
Mm-hmm.
It tried not to flow. You know, it purposely would have those little cut ins and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest problem. But in terms of the style, it never felt like it skipped anything or something like that. So.
Okay. All right. So, what did y'all think of like the main idea, the theme of the book? Did it come across clearly to you? Why or why not?
What was the main idea, theme of the book?
I would say humanity is both good and evil.
Oh, yeah. That was the
And
quote.
life is absurd.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I got
Yeah.
from it, is
Yeah.
that the world is absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they nailed it. And I think the ending was what it needed to be. You know, it could have, it worked. It worked. The ending don't give me that. I read the last 20 pages. I skipped some in the middle, but I read the last 20 pages. So.
That's funny.
I got home last night. I was like, I have 100
Yeah, I know.
No,
pages
it's
to wait.
okay.
So,
It's okay. I finished it this morning. If I
there
had
you go.
to.
Yeah, actually, I was going to. I was like, oh, I'm totally going to do it. And that did not happen.
I actually had
so.
to go back and re-listen to parts of it because I was like, I don't remember.
I know. We're sad this podcast. Sorry, viewers, listeners. We've been.
Also, thank you for. I was just trying to make sure we were on the same page about the theme. You asked the question, and I was like, oh. I immediately was in 6th grade and was like, I don't know if I'm going to know the right answer to this question.
I mean, honestly, with fiction, it's what you take from it.
So
It doesn't really matter. This is not an English class. You can make the theme whatever you want it to be. I don't care.
thank you. So I think they did well. The only direct really quote that I took from the book, I took a picture of. Well, I googled it. No, a picture, Kendall.
My one that I took a picture of, though, has nothing to do with the theme. It just had a reference that I liked. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Funny. I actually had another direct quote that I was going to do, but then it ended up being a page and a half because it was a conversation. I was like, well, I'll just reference that. Okay, so, and then I need to go to my pictures. Sorry, someone else talk.
Theme.
Why don't you have your quote, right?
Oh, yeah,
just
but
go.
it's just, okay, so.
We're going to do quotes anyway.
Okay, so this was my quote that I loved. The message had come during the Golden Girls, one of Crowley's favorite television programs. Rose had taken 10 minutes to deliver what could have been quite a brief communication. By the time non-infernal service was restored, Crowley had quite lost the thread of the plot.
I love it.
And it made me happy because it made me think of Betty White. So, and Rose and her ridiculous St. Olaf stories. And
I
so
thought
was
of you when I read it.
I know.
I
It's like, I gotta take a picture of that. So that was my favorite. Again, it was just absurd, but I liked Crowley, and so then he likes the Golden Girls. So I think that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that says about me that I've liked the demon, but
I actually like the demon too, but this is the quote that I picked that hit the nail on the head for the theme.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it may help to understand human affairs to be clear that most of the great triumphs and tragedies of history are caused not by people being fundamentally good or fundamentally bad, but by people being fundamentally people.
ooh, I like that.
That's,
yeah.
And I was like, well, that's just a nice little sweet button.
I did like too how some of the theme that went through of what people consider the end times or the things that are killing us, and it's the guy who created the fast food, and it's so there's all those themes of the things that are killing us are our modern society, and so it wasn't necessarily I think what you said was the prominent theme, but that you kept coming through some of the things that had been created by demons to destroy mankind, or stuff that we use every day and eat that we're not supposed to eat.
The things that Crowley took credit for, but was actually...
Oh, that was my favorite when they both would be like, oh, we're going to take credit for this. And the other, both of them are taking credit for the same thing with their
Right.
bosses, but neither of them had anything to do with it.
Yes.
I thought that was a beautiful.
And that is human nature. People do that in the workplace. Yeah. But yeah, that one just, it was like, okay, so like there's this whole running theme, and I think it was Ellen DeGeneres, but it was like a stand-up special. She was talking about like the last miracle was the toilet that flushed on its own. So it's like that kind of theme of like the last thing the demon created was like the fast food, Whopper or the McDonald's burger or whatever. So
Yeah.
So we agree that the theme came through pretty clearly.
yeah.
Good job, boys. Good job.
So
We got our quotes.
outside of that quote, did you have a favorite aspect or quote of the book that you really liked?
I just took the one. Okay.
It's
No,
okay.
you're
I got
fine.
one.
We can
I
go
got
through your
more.
one.
I got more.
I'm messing.
Yeah, and I have a few as well.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. So the scene that I thought that was just so funny, as much as I didn't like following the Four Horsemen story, when they had unintentionally recruited the 4 secondary horsemen, and they're trying to come up with what their thing is, and they're like changing their names, so they're no longer scuzz. They're like really
Abuse to animals.
Yeah,
Or,
cruelty
like,
to animals, or the one that got me like something about 2 cool people, like
Oh, yeah,
really
yeah.
cool people, like
That-
they're
yeah,
just
that
the
was funny.
worst. Oh my gosh, I thought I was cackling. I thought that was so funny.
Again, that connection back to like those little things, and like they did a good job of
Mhm.
connecting that back to like
And then
modern
later,
world.
when the like 4 secondary horsemen, died under a big pile of raining fish or whatever, like he was saying that his name was actually like he changed it again, and I just thought that was so funny. It was just the callbacks were really
The
nice.
callback,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Do you have another one?
I do actually. So I'm sorry.
You're
you're
good.
fine.
I love it.
I really liked that they made the reference to not reference, but like that they made the nuns, the satanic nuns of the Chattering Order, and then
Oh,
they
I
made
did
them all
love
like
that.
Sister Mary Loquacious, the sister that stayed in
Yes.
the place, and Sister Mary Hodge later. I don't know if she was a different name prior, but anyway, so Sister Mary Hodge, and she like revamped the. It's not a monastery. What do you call where nuns live? Like all I can think right now is.
Yeah.
Convent.
yeah.
Thank you, because all I could think was get thee to a nunnery, and I was like, that's not right. Anyway, she changed it into like a workshop development retreat,
Yeah.
and I was like, boy, I like her. I like her a lot.
She's living Kendall's dream life.
I know, minus the real bullets, but yes,
Right.
it's just essentially one giant staff development day.
Oh,
and she
God.
gets paid for it.
Yeah, I know. See, and to me, I thought that was just the inner demon in her taking it out on humans.
See, maybe that's why I
Amazing.
like Crowley. I'm secretly a demon. Oh my gosh. Crowley.
Crowley?
I always read it as Crowley, like when I read the book,
Yeah.
but then the series came out and he says Crowley.
Oh,
So I'm going to stick with Crowley. 'cause
Me
that comes
too.
out.
Okay, so I think because we're Americans, we say Crowley,
Mhm.
but in listening to the audiobook a little bit, he would say Crowley. And so I say
We're
Crowley.
also
and I'll
Southern.
do-
Crowley?
Crowley.
Crowley.
Anyway, I think I might have more later. I can't remember.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
Those are good, though.
So this one, I don't know why this one. I found this one so funny, but it's like towards the end. Aziraphale patted Crowley on the back. "We seem to have survived," he said. "Just imagine how terrible it might have been if we'd been at all competent."
I saw. I also thought that one was really funny.
That's funny. Yeah.
And then there's this one at the beginning with the international. These are all just funny lines. I like the International Express. I think that's what it was. Driver, and he's talking about like by the side of a lake, and he's talking about how he and his wife would come down there to spoon. And on one
And
memorable occasion to fork.
Yes. Okay. Yes. That one was funny. Yes.
I also laughed at that one. It was a humorous book.
That's what kept me in it, was that you'd have those little lines, and I go, ha, ha, like I would actually laugh at those. It just yeah. So that you're right, that they did a very good job with that, and some of the lines were really cleverly
Mm-hmm.
humorous. It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
just like
I love how they like kind of made these two essential angels really human. Like there's a moment where Crowley can't remember the saying "water off a duck's back," and then 100 pages later, he was talking like he makes a reference to "water off a duck's back," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, that's clever."
That's it.
It's just funny.
All right. Did you have a favorite character?
Of everyone, I probably went with Crowley, and I don't know why. There is something about a bad character with a little bit of good
Yeah.
that I just prefer to a good character with a little bit of bad. Like
You prefer John Travolta in Grease to, Sandy in
Sandy.
Grease. Yeah.
Well, there's something very pious and uppity. But then I'm like, well, maybe that's just my perspective because, at the end of the book, there's that lovely moment between the angels and it's like, oh, there's just enough good in you to be da-da-da-da and then there's just enough of a bastard in you to be.
Yeah.
There's just that moment. But yeah, I don't know. I like the bad boys with a heart.
He was just funny. That's why I liked him. He was always humorous. He was always, and his parts to me made a lot more sense than somebody. Like everything ended up making sense at the end, but his made more sense along the way. I know how that sounds, but so when I was reading his parts, I was a little more engaged because it wasn't so off the wall, and I knew where the thread was going a little bit better. Maybe it's Neil Gaiman who wrote that one.
Maybe,
yeah. And then Terry Pratchett, maybe, I don't know, but that one had a little more linear to me, which I enjoyed.
Well, you love Michael Sheen, and he's Aziraphale, so maybe that'll balance it out when you watch the show.
Yeah. I was telling her, though, I was like, because I was thinking about this, like with Everything Everywhere All at Once that we all loved, and that was crazy and chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm more of a visual person, like in terms of I'm a visual learner. Like if someone writes it out, like when I was in school, an overhead projector. But I could learn it better. I know. I could learn it better than just someone like talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like this is one of those that all the chaos and the crazy works better for me in a visual format than trying to process it in a more written format.
So I think it'll work better for you because the comedic timing is more apparent. Whereas in the book, you can put the book down and come back in 20 minutes later, or 20 minutes later, geez Louise. You can put the book down and 2 days later come back, and it's not going to have the same timing. Whereas when you're watching it in a 1 hour snippet, they cater to that 1 hour.
And I love I'm a huge comedy buff, so like that. Yeah, I feel like that's so I'm definitely going to watch the series. But yeah, so Crowley was my favorite just because to me, he was the easiest to keep up with.
Yeah. So I liked Adam, the kid.
Oh, yeah.
He was so much of a child and so funny. So, and his interactions with his friends and his dad.
But I preferred the Antichrist in
Lucy.
I preferred Lucy in House of Cerulean Sea. Like I liked Adam, but the whole time I kept waiting. I wanted him to be Lucy because that was my favorite character in that book, and that was my favorite book last year. I loved it. And my sister sent me another one of his T.J. Klune something.
Under the Whispering Door.
Yes. And so I have that one out to try to read because I was like, oh, if it's very, and even has like a similar cover. So yeah, I liked Adam, but he didn't have quite the zing as Lucy did. So,
but I think that. So I agree. I mean, as far as like fun Antichrist,
yeah.
He was what he needed to be for the story.
Yeah.
And I was reading it, and I was like, to me, he seems like a real little kid. And in so many ways, he seemed younger than 11 because he'll say and do things and process what my 6-year-old's doing, like the way he's kind of coming across.
Remember the world
but
they lived, that little village they lived in, like time stood still.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why he wasn't as grown up.
He really idealized his like childhood and what was happening right then. But then he really, I don't know, he didn't have the influences. And I think that was part of, you're talking about themes, the idea that, if you just let things alone and stop trying to like influence one way or the other, just let things be, then maybe, just maybe, something will be created that's better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was a good balance of both like good and evil.
Like
most kids.
He was a little bit naughty, but when it came right down to it, like he was ready to get rid of the Johnsonites. The Greasy Johnsonites. Thank goodness Greasy turned out to be the kid.
I know.
Gosh, that was having me like all in sorts.
And you only find out in the footnotes. That's why I told you to read the footnotes.
Yeah, this is another one. We've now had several this year where the footnotes are key.
Footnotes.
Yeah. You can't skip them.
Don't skip the footnotes.
Side note, I appreciated that the footnotes made it feel like this was like we were reading our own Agnes Nutter's like prophecies. Like it felt historical read as opposed to like just like a fun book. And they even had that thing anyway. I forgot what I was saying before.
I did like the Agnes's I'm bad with names, but the
Nice and accurate prophecy.
yeah, no, the
Anathema?
witch, yeah,
Anathema device.
Yeah,
yeah,
she's good
and then
too.
the newt, and they're
Newt
kind of like
Coulson,
weird, like as they get. I did like that little offshoot. That was
Yeah.
interesting to me. They were kind of funny. So.
Yeah. I think it was funny that they were using her as a device.
Right,
Her name was a
right.
device. But at the end, she kind of got a chance to break away from that by burning the new one,
Yeah.
the new book.
No, you're just like, are you okay?
I'm still trying to figure out
I'm
if I
sorry.
finished my train of thought.
You were
from
talking
before.
about Adam
I
and how
was.
his. Oh crap!
See, I know. He was just.
We're just so old.
You were talking
and
about
tired.
Adam, and he wanted to fight the Johnsonites.
So he had, like, that bad
he
part.
wanted to like eliminate him, but then he was willing to listen to Pepper
Yeah.
when she was like, "No, we really kind of need them because they make things more interesting and fun." And so it was nice to see the little microcosm of all the problems happening with the kids and how Adam just kind of figured things out for himself, and then he applied that to his real big world situation when it was like,
Yeah.
the angel, heaven
Yeah.
versus hell kind of. Anyway, so that was a nice little.
Yeah.
I also liked when they first started talking about
Analogy.
dividing up the earth. I'm like, I got Russia. Russia sucks. Like that was so. It was so. It's like you're talking about. It's like because it seemed like pretend, right? Like kids would be like, okay, so you're gonna be the king of this place. You're gonna be like kids are, but then it's like, oh, this could actually happen. Like they don't
Yeah.
realize it. But like, oh, I don't want to be ever that one. That was humorous to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or another scene I liked when they were torturing the little sister.
Oh God, yeah.
And they were like, gotta dunk her.
Yeah. And then all the other kids wanted to be like, didn't the other kids want to be dunked? It's like this is not the point of this.
They're the British Inquisition.
The British
The
Inquisition.
Spanish to British Inquisition. Oh, that was so funny. Ole.
Olay.
They kept trying to find Spanish stuff in their house. Like they were.
But then Wensleydale kept inserting the Latin because he was trying to make things more proper. Like the dynamic of that friend group was really lovely.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was really lovely.
Yeah.
And normally I don't. It's just like I hate. Like I forever would not watch Stranger Things because I hated like shows that had kids. Yeah, yeah. But then I watched them. Like, oh, this is really good. First of all, there's a lot of adults too, and it's a
Yeah.
very well written series, and you have to get past it. So when when those scenes started with the friends group, it's like, ugh. But they ended up being great. They were actually they were fun. So
All right. So next question. Speaking of relationships between characters, what did you think of the relationship between Aziraphale and Crowley?
It was beautiful. They were great foils to each other.
they are the perfect opposites attract friends.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why it worked. Because it is kind of they should really hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Those storylines of you should be, you should be enemies, but you end up being friends. I mean, that's kind of like an old school
Yeah.
theme. But I thought they didn't by adding all the humor and by making them demons and angels. Like that's like the most pure opposite you can get kind of thing. But then they made a point that all demons at one point were angels. So like
Yeah.
they took an old theme of opposites attract and opposites can be friends, and and they made it work really well. So.
Yeah.
They're very well written characters, I will say.
They're basically different but the same.
Yeah.
I liked it. And that was apparent in all, like, everything. Like, they really put those opposing points of views in multiple facets of the book.
Yeah.
They layered it in really nicely.
Yeah. Talking about the microcosm thing, they kind of expanded it out to include and bring it back.
I
in.
used the term microcosm in every history paper I ever wrote.
That's funny.
This event was a microcosm of the greater economic, political, and social struggle of the 1840s. Like that, yeah, microcosm. Additionally, furthermore,
The attitude.
I like a transition. Hateful.
Transitions are so important, and they're the hardest things in real life.
Yeah, but then it's like you use furthermore 12 times in this paragraph. I'm like, okay. So then she's like, then you switched them all to additionally.
Oh my gosh, you know what my thing that I would do all the time is I would always use the semicolon and then the what's the word you just used? The
Microcosm?
no
Transition?
not a transition. Is it a conjunction? The ands, buts,
Yeah, conjunction.
a conjunction. So I would do full sentence, semicolon, conjunction, hence, comma,
Theater major.
second sentence. I did those.
I am the
all
master.
The time.
I am the master of the 4-page sentence. It's always grammatically correct. I'm one of those people that's like, it's got to flow.
Yeah.
And so when like I had a professor who was like, that's too long of a sentence. I'm like, did you read it out loud? She's like, no. I'm like, if you had read it out loud, it would have sounded perfect.
No, it's important because you have to link the two sentences. Like, you have to
Yes.
show that you know, that they know, that we know that it's two sentences that relate to each other. It adds a punch.
So semicolon.
Semicolons, furthermore, and additionally, conjunction function.
And, or, but.
Okay.
Conjunction, junction.
Function,
What's your function?
All right, let's move on to the last question.
No, we are mirroring what's happening in the book. We are a microcosm
Of the chaos.
of the chaos
Of the
book.
rapture. Also, we both are tired and probably have undiagnosed ADD. Anywho,
I've actually wondered that a bit of myself, like internally, but I don't think I do. But there's something there.
oh yeah, there's something there.
You think there's something there just from
Not about for
knowing
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
the face you gave me when I was like, I don't think I actually do have it.
No, I'm talking about like sort of. Anyway.
Anyway, I love you, Mom.
What is
Okay.
your next question, Angelique?
What did you think of the ending?
Henceforth.
I had to read it twice because I think I missed it the first time.
Mhm.
Because it was, the Metatron. I was there with Metatron,
Metatron.
but not Mega.
Not Megatron.
I appreciated that joke. So there was Metatron, and then there was Beelzebub. And it took me watching that show to realize that Beelzebub was not actually the devil, but like a duke.
Yeah. A
Like
demon.
in the hierarchy of the, anyway. So they were there being all opposite of each other. And then they got basically confused and went away. And that was funny. And that was the big thing. I think the whole point, like the climax was really anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Because the next point, it's like, and Adam moved his hand and there was a blur. And then they just moved on and the devil was no longer coming. But I
Yeah.
missed it. And so I went back and had to listen for him to move his hand. Because I got to Sunday and I was like, wait, wasn't the devil coming? When
He
did
made
I-
you forget. Like he
Yes!
made all his friends
That's
forget.
exactly what I was going to say. I felt like the characters, like I remembered everything happening, but I couldn't remember exactly what happened.
And this book is a prequel to The Devil Went Down Georgia. Because after he got confused, he went and took his fiddle and went down. Anyway, I'll stop.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking for a soul to steal. He was, he was way behind, but he was willing to make a deal. I'll
Okay,
stop.
you said that, and my brain went to the 1996 Olympics with Dominique Moceanu, where she won gold at age of 13 for
I was talking about
doing
Charlie
a
Daniels.
floor routine to The Devil Went Down in Georgia by Charlie Daniels. Maybe I do have a touch. Just a touch.
What's the next question?
That was the last one.
Oh,
Is there
gosh.
anything else we would like to talk about this book?
Wait, no, I was the only one that answered. What did you think about the ending?
Well, the 20 pages that I read. No, it was definitely good. Again, I don't know. I feel like it was a very long book.
Yeah.
So by the time you get to the ending, yeah, it is a little anticlimactic, which is okay because it's supposed to be. Like, that's the whole point. Like,
yeah.
the chaos. Yeah, okay. But yeah, I was so tired. By the time I got to the end, I
It
was
was
just
like a
okay.
relief.
It was like a release, yeah, that was over. When you asked at one point, like, if you were just reading this on your own, I was like, I would have never finished the book.
Oh.
It's just wouldn't have
It's
been.
fair enough, yeah.
The series has been
Yeah.
high on my list to watch. I'm just behind on everything, but it's been high on my list to watch because I love all the people and it looks great and the visuals look fantastic.
Mhm.
And Amazon in general like produces really good shows. Like I'm really excited about the last season of Maisel and like they have good stuff. And so I probably would have gotten like 50 pages in and been like, I can't. I don't have the energy to finish this. So that's just kind of not because it's not well written, but just because my brain
It takes brain power to follow all the jokes and to catch everything. You can't just speed read it.
And I am right now, we're so busy with, and it's great. It's a good busy. This is our biggest time of year with book sale. We have summer reading, Comic-Con coming up. It's going to be so exciting. But someone told me this, I think it was Kelly, our teen librarian. So I'm going to give her a shout out.
What?
Because I was joking about how I was like, I've just watched like like 26 episodes of Living Single in one day. And she's like, you know why people love nostalgia? And they said, because when you're tired and you're stressed, you don't want to watch or read something new or something that's complicated or something that's because you don't know what's going to happen. And that causes anxiety. People love things that they've seen and read 100 times because you know what's going to happen. So you don't have to process it. If there's an episode you don't like, you skip it, or you fast forward to that scene that makes you uncomfortable because you know what's coming. And so that's the problem with this, is that I'm not in the head. This is one I need to read, like when I'm on Christmas break and I read like 5-6 books, go back and read this or go back and watch the series and get it,
You have to be in the mood to read this book.
You have to be in the mood. So like our book club book's called I think it's called The Last Stop. It's like a British one, and they're on it. Apparently it's very light, kind of romantic. I'm like, I think this one will be perfect palate cleanser because it doesn't feel like it's going to be like heavy.
That's good.
Like our Christmas book was like not, like that kind of light fun. It works.
It's not going to be a sniper on the roof. Nothing. Death. Destruction. Sniper bullet. It's such a funny joke.
But then it gets good. So it's just... That book was I actually finished that one because it got good in the end. Yeah. But that really was. That was like the entire, it's like World War II in novel form.
So you have to be in this. You have to be in the space to allow things. You have to be like already kind of.
And this one is. It's so layered, and there's so many jokes, and they all connect back to each other, and there's so many little... I was telling her, what's the guy, Shadwell? Every time he spoke, I was like, I'm not even going to try to read this. I have no idea what he's saying.
It was really helpful listening to
that would have been
the
useful,
book at that point. You can go on Hoopla, you can bounce between the two.
And I did a lot of the ebook on Hoopla. I didn't do the audiobook because I felt like I would get lost or like get off.
I spent a lot of time trying to like figure out where 87% was in the book versus the...
right. But I just got to the point. I was like, I don't. If it's important, I'm sure it'll. The context clues will get me to it because it was just. That was one where I was like, I know that he's supposed to be like Cockney, and and I have said, I won't. They have like British GPS. I want a Cockney GPS.
You'll apparently get
bloody
lost.
turn left. Like what?
You'll apparently get lost.
Oh yeah, see exactly. But it'd be funny. Is the point. But yeah, so that's my. This is one where you need to be in the headspace to be able to pay attention to it, which is a testament to how well it's written.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't my thing. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna try the series because I definitely feel like this is one that I will absorb visually. If Everything Everywhere All at Once was written as a book and they were trying to explain all the worlds and stuff, my head would explode. Yeah, but in an hour and a half.
Can you imagine the hot dog fingers? I think I would just close the book and put it down. Like what?
Right? Yeah, exactly. But in like 2 hours. It all makes sense at the end, like so. It's so I'm looking forward to putting this one towards the top of my list and watching it.
How about you, Ace? What did you think about it?
It wasn't the best part of the book. I mean, it did kind of like peter out, and you're just like, okay, that happened, but it doesn't like ruin the book in any way for me. So I liked it well enough.
I also could not think of a better ending.
And I just kind of like that. So they're preparing for Satan to rise up out of the earth, and then suddenly he's not, and then Adam's dad is there, and then the kids are running.
Yeah.
They didn't run from Satan, but they ran from Adam's dad.
That's funny. Yeah.
Visually, that I can't remember how it looked in the
series.
Because I also feel like there was more in the series that wasn't in the book.
Yeah, they added a little bit, especially between Aziraphale and Crowley.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wish there were more between the two of them in the book.
Yeah.
There was a point where I'm reading, I'm like, it's been like 60 pages since I've seen them. And I missed them because I liked their character. And we talked about how wonderful their relationship was. Yeah. So I could see why, especially when you've paid all that money for Michael Sheen and David Tennant, you're probably like, we got to have more scenes with them together. So, okay, so that's cool. That's good to know.
Yeah.
But it was really, anyway, there was a nice moment where it's like, oh, the devil's coming. Here comes his dad. And then his Earth dad came through, and they were like...
like they're more scared of being in trouble with their parents than with being destroyed.
Even the angels were like, when the devil was coming, they're spreading their wings, they're picking up a sword, things are happening, the dad comes and they're like, whoop,
we gotta go.
Here's somebody that details his car every weekend. Let's sit back a minute. Let's sit back.
All right, is there anything else about the book you want to talk about, or anything that you want to bring up?
I had the one picture. So, but Kendall probably has some good ones.
Well, I don't know if that's.
You always do that.
I have things. Okay, we'll go together since the forward is written as if the character is the author. I have a love-hate relationship with that. I feel dumb if I am not sure right away if it's actually the author or a character.
So that's a personal thing you got to work through.
I know. But also, I mean, was it really necessary? Like when they were talking about like the book and like, what was the point of it? I don't understand. You know, where they're talking in the beginning about them like being on the radio and
Girl,
stuff like that.
Oh, wait. Oh, never mind.
Like, why?
I don't know.
Okay. I like the font of the book, just the typeset. There's a lot of setup for a joke. You gotta pay attention. Can't fast read. Dum 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 dum. I enjoy the details in the stories I like. I loathe the extra details in the stories I don't. 4.5 stars. I guess that's when I.
That's a good point, though. If you aren't feeling that particular storyline, it is like, okay, how many pages is this? Like, where's the next break? And I do get that.
But then again, it's not very long. It'll go to something else.
That's true.
I love the moment where Crowley is talking down to his plants.
Oh,
and
yes.
he's like,
he like takes them out like and like
he's
dumps
just,
it and brings
like,
back.
oh,
the
you're
empty
not
pot.
beautiful enough. Okay, we're just gonna take you. Return with an empty pot, and the other plants are sitting in fear.
Like,
and
that's
then
the most beautiful plants in the world because they're afraid not to be.
but then later when he gets like admonished over that's the second time this podcast I've used the word admonished. When he's getting like rebuked. There we go.
There you go. SAT word.
When he's getting rebuked in his car or whatever about like losing the Antichrist, he was like compared himself. He was like, I feel like a wilted plant, you know? I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that was good. Again, that's why I like Crowley. Like, it was funny. Whereas the other guy's just like sitting in his bookshop being weird.
Yeah. And I have a least favorite scene.
What's your least favorite scene?
It's just because it's gross. I didn't like when Hastur came out of the phone as a maggot and then like completely took over the call center and big group.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that was really
maggoty
gross.
Oh, yeah.
Devoured
Maggotness.
him.
I could tell
Yeah.
it's a part you skipped. It's gross. Be glad you skipped it. She survived in the end because apparently Adam unmade things or something and
Gotcha.
set the world right.
Girl, just so call me out, like, in front of everybody. I was just going to go along with it, like, oh, yes, terrible.
sorry.
You're just like, you didn't even read that.
You
know,
can
that's
edit that part
No,
out.
I'm kidding.
No,
No,
I'm leaving
it's
it.
that was
really
getting
not
towards
cool.
the end.
It was
No,
really not
no,
cool
It was
of
funny.
me to do
It
that.
was funny. Don't worry about it. No, that was there are some blurry parts of
If you were to ask me details, do you remember when we read the Murderbot? What was the first book in Murderbot?
All Systems Red.
All Systems
yeah,
Red.
yeah.
And I had just finished the second one, and Angelique's asking me details about the first one. So she's like, "What's your favorite scene?" I'm like, "Oh, shit." There's a scene in the book that I thought was funny, and then like I was like, "Oh my god, I feel like I just cannot."
At least you read both of them all the way through.
But I couldn't recall any of the details.
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, if you were to ask me some specifics about this book, I'm sure I'd do the same. But just the look you were giving me about the maggots, and I'm like, you didn't. It's okay.
I got the last like 100 pages. I got the broad brushstrokes. Okay,
the
and then the
gist.
last like 25 pages. I got all of
That's
it.
I mean,
fine.
it's all part of reading the book and being a reader. Not being able to like focus on a book is part of reading the book. I feel like
Yeah.
if you can't finish a book, that's part of the experience. I think there's something about the book that makes you not want to finish it.
Yeah.
I think that's as valid a reading choice as any.
I agree, and I don't want to shame you because when I was running book club, I'd be like, I don't care if you finish the book, show up.
Yeah.
But she probably doesn't listen to this podcast. But one of my favorite people in this life is Judy Ward.
Oh, Judy Ward.
And if you are listening, Miss Judy, we absolutely adore you. But she is famous
so
for
funny.
not finishing the book, and she'll like have the book open like at like page 250 out of 300, and she'll go, "Well, Andrew, so this is where I landed. This is where I stopped off." There was one where
So funny.
during like right after the pandemic, and so we were having like 3 or 4 people at book club, 'cause,
Mhm.
and so we spent like the first 30 minutes explaining the rest of the book, and then we had the discussion.
I love it.
And then she's like, "Well, now I want to go back and read."
See?
I adore her. So, yeah. And I will say, I finally admitted in my book club, there was one, it was, I'm not going to say the name of it, but it was like historical fiction,
Mhm.
and it was just dreadful. And I
You hate
did
historical-
not, no, I don't hate historical fiction. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but like that Kate Quinn one ended up being really well written, and the whole ending storyline was really interesting and kind of like a thriller, so I got through it. This one, I did not care. I did not get through it. None of them knew, and then like 4 months later, I was like, yeah, I didn't finish that book.
I love it. It's so relatable.
It is, yeah. But no. I mean, I didn't. But there are some pages at the end where I probably read it, but I was just barreling through it. So
Yeah.
I don't remember the maggots. So that's.
Be glad. It was a gross.
It was great,
was
probably
really
for the
gross.
best. Yeah.
I think that was a Neil Gaiman one because he kind of tends to write.
Noted.
Yeah.
Ugh. Gross.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else?
I mean, that my list was finished.
Okay. All right. So I guess we're done.
Yay.
Yay.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. All right.
But we're gonna get focused.
Yep. Now, to close out this episode of We're Booked Up, I'm going to promote the library app My Libro. With My Libro, patrons can place holds, schedule curbside pickup, keep track of multiple accounts, and a whole lot more. My Libro is available in the Apple App Store and Google Play, and don't hesitate to contact the library with any questions. All right, that's it for this episode of We're Booked Up. Good Omens is available both in the library and online in the Libby and Hoopla apps. Let us know what you think of the book and what you think of what we think of the book. Just leave a comment at the Off the Shelf blog at gastonlibrary.blogspot.com or at gastonspeaks.podbean.com. Next month will be the second annual Votist Awards.
I'm so excited.
So now you need to go back and remind us of all the books that we read since
Yes,
September.
I will have to go back and figure out what we've read.
We did that last year and was like, oh yeah, we did read that one. Oh, I liked that one, but that was in like December, so I missed it.
And
So.
are the categories the same?
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
send
don't
the
wanna
categories
think
too,
of-
because I want to I want to think ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Like 20 minutes ahead.
We'll be. I think
Hush.
we'll be 1 or 2 books less than books.
Boo.
Books. We will be 1 or 2 books less than last year.
What a world. What a world.
I don't know why I'm on a podcast speaking. I just shouldn't do it. All right. Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you guys. Bye.
Bye.